Hi guys, and welcome back to the Early Bird Photo News, straight from the deep dark rainforest in far north Queensland this time. And if you look closely, you might actually see one of those Victoria's rifle birds right behind me. My road trip is going quite well and I've taken more than 80,000 images so far. So it's been a bit of a challenge to go through them, but I usually download them, look through them in that FastStone image viewer, tag the ones I want to keep, and delete the rest. And so it's still manageable, and I do that every other night or so, and then I don't have too many images piling up because of course I also need to back them up so I don't lose any, and I have a DAS system with me and a few extra hard drives to make sure that I don't lose any images. So far in stunning far north Queensland, I've been able to capture some amazing species like the Youngalla honeyeater, amazing cassowaries on the beach, and of course the incredible Victoria's rifle birds and their amazing display where they just dance with their wings up, showing the females that they are the right one because they can just dance better than anyone else around. Besides that incredible experience, I've also been able to finally film and photograph some green pygmy geese yesterday. Really cool little species. As you know, with bird photography, things are often unpredictable, and we find ourselves in a situation where the bird didn't exactly land where we wanted it to land, but it's still a nice photo. We just have to crop a little bit more. Or we have a bird like the incredible rifle birds behind me that are quite small when they're perched, but if they do their display, put up their wings, they're suddenly 3 times as large. So in these situations, all we can do is step back a little bit more, leave enough space to accommodate for the potential that they move up their wings, and then shoot. So in these situations, it's very advantageous to have a camera that doesn't only capture the full scene, but also allows you to crop into the perched bird if it doesn't display and you still like the scene and want to get a photo of the scene of just the perched bird, but you wouldn't leave it as wide. So being able to crop in is a great advantage. The majority of the images on this road trip I've actually taken with my R5s and the 100 to 500mm lens handheld. I've also taken a lot of images with the EF 600mm version 3 adapted to my cameras, and that has given me great images of smaller birds or in the rainforest or whenever I knew that the bird wouldn't come too close to me. And of course it also gives me those beautiful smooth and out of focus backgrounds. However, in most other situations where I was able to get a little bit closer to the birds or wanted to roam around a bit, the 100 to 500 has been a fantastic lens and actually my go-to and favorite lens. I've been shooting a lot in rainforest environments, so the wide open f7.1 isn't ideal, but it's also not a problem because I can use high ISO on my cameras, and even ISO 16000 with DxO Pura is not really a problem anymore. So for instance, with the cassowaries, it was amazing to have the 100 to 500mm lens and not a prime lens, because I could shoot the cassowary on the beach or in the forest at 200mm and then get a headshot at 500mm. So that flexibility really allowed me to get the shots that I was getting. Also for the Victoria's rifle birds, I shot a lot of the images handheld with the 100 to 500mm lens, because some of the birds just came so close that I needed the ability to focus very closely and be able to zoom in and out. There was a further distant perch where I set up my 600mm lens because it gave me a beautiful out of focus sort of creamy rainforest background behind it, but for most other situations the 100 to 500 did very well even here in the rainforest. Another advantage of the 100 to 500 is that I can also do handheld video and get more sort of environmental portraits of the birds. With the 600mm lens, you're very confined to the kind of a traditional bird portrait with an out of focus background, whereas with the 100 to 500 I can zoom in, I can zoom out, I can roam around, I can take great videos. So it definitely has become almost my go-to lens. Or oftentimes, at least, I start out with the 100 to 500, and if I feel like I need a different look, then I'm using my 600mm lenses. Interestingly, also the vast majority of images on this trip I've taken with my R5 cameras. If you watch my R7 review, I'll link it for you somewhere up there. You know that I enjoy the camera, but I'm a little bit hesitant to use it at times because it has inconsistent results, especially in low light. So whenever I'm in a critical moment, there's a super rare bird I really want to get the shots, I'm usually gravitating towards some of my other cameras. I also love my R3. I'm currently filming with it. It's a fantastic camera with great image quality and even better video quality. but I'm also hesitant to use it because I'm just not satisfied with the 24 megapixel files. And sometimes I need to crop and I can't crop as far as I needed to do because the bird just hopped a little bit further away to another tree, and then with the 24 megapixels I'm quite limited. So the R3 has become my main video camera. So on this trip I have 4 cameras with me, one R7, 2 R5s and one R3, and given the choice I'm always gravitating towards my R5 with the battery grip because I think it gives me the best overall chance to take great bird images. Nice 45 megapixels, good enough ISO performance, great autofocus and awesome video quality. So all in all, it's the best all-round bird photography camera for me, and I've been using it the most. So it's a lot harder to do good video with the 600mm lens because you see every little shake and you kind of have to put it on the bird and then don't touch it. So oftentimes the bird will just hop out of the frame and you miss the shot. Whereas with the 100 to 500, I can follow it more. The only downside in video mode is that if you're shooting in C-Log, you're getting the H.265 files, and they're very hard to edit. I didn't have any problems with overheating up here because it hasn't been very hot, so I was able to always film with the R5 when I needed it to be able to film. So all good in this regard on this trip. If you're a photographer and you're not quite sure how to edit your images to get the absolute most out of them and make them look great, I would highly recommend that you check out my masterclass down there in the description, where I teach you all the necessary steps and tricks in Photoshop to make your own images look amazing and make them stand out from the crowd. And while you're at it, why not save some time with my ProSets, where you, with just one click you can transform your RAW files from the RAW into a great starting point for the editing process. And if you're a new R7 owner, I've also created an easy to follow setup guide with the settings that I use on my R7. So hopefully you can set yours up a similar way and get the best results. I've linked all these things down there in the description for you, so make sure to check them out. Nikon also doesn't seem finished for this year when it comes to releasing lenses. There's rumors that there will be a 1.2 85mm awesome portrait lens, and the 600 with the built-in 1.4 extender might also show up. I'm just a little bit confused by this news because last week we were talking about how Nikon was halting orders for the f2.8 400mm lens with the built-in extender and the f6.3 800mm lens. So does it make sense to hold orders on some lenses and then release more lenses that you will likely also not be able to produce? Not sure, just seems kind of like an odd follow-up of the news of not taking orders to be releasing more lenses. What do you guys think? Make sure to let me know down there in the comments. Of course, that 600mm lens would be an amazing lens to have. Having a great image quality f4 lens with a built-in 1.4 extender is the stuff a lot of our dreams are made of, and I would definitely be looking a little bit jealous over to those Nikon shooters with that lens. Nikon is also set to release another full-frame mirrorless camera this year. And what do you guys think is it going to be? And Z6 II, is that 7 II, something completely different, maybe a little bit lower end with an EVF and decent tracking, decent frame rate? Let me know in the comments. I'm not quite sure at this stage, but probably like a Z6 II replacement with better autofocus would probably be a good idea and a good seller. The Z30 vlogging camera has also hit the shelves now and has been in many people's hands, so it'll be interesting to see what people think of that camera. For me personally, and I know many of you on this channel, it's not super interesting, but that vlogging segment, as we've discussed, is definitely picking up some heat, and we will see a lot more cameras and lenses in that segment. Talking about lenses for APS-C cameras, Venus Optics has released a very interesting looking 10mm f4 lens for Nikon, Sony and Canon APS-C cameras. So that 10mm will get you to 15 or 16mm, and it looks like a super small, super lightweight pancake lens, and I think that could be an interesting lens for many people. Also interesting to see that Venus Optics has been able to release a lens for the RF mount. Canon is set to release a new firmware update for the R3 and the R5 next week. It will be mainly video centric, but as we all know, with firmware updates, there's always updates they talk about, and then there's some sort of hidden improvements that they don't always talk about. And usually I update my cameras right away, but this time I might be a little bit more hesitant because what happened with the R5 last time. When we upgraded from firmware 1.4 to 1.5, the autofocus quality actually took a big hit, and Canon only fixed it in firmware 1.5.2. So what I'm thinking at the moment, because I have two R5s, I might grab one R5 and update it, and then I will use my other R5 still with the old firmware and compare the two to make sure it's actually working fine, because I don't want to be stuck again in a situation where I have a camera that has not as good autofocus as it has before. I'm not saying I expect this to happen, I'm just saying I'm a little bit more cautious after what happened in the past. And I really can't afford to have a camera that's not working as well as it does right now, because as you can see, I'm on a trip and shooting a lot. 80,000 images and counting so far. And on that note, I think it's a great time to wrap up this week's Early Bird Photo News. We're heading slowly back down south now. I have to leave beautiful far north Queensland, but I have a feeling I will be back very soon. So please make sure, like always, to give me a thumbs up for this video. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel down there, and I will see you in the next video very soon. Bye guys.